You're listening to The Right Side of the Rivers, hosted by Todd McCollum and Russell Dreyer. This show tackles public issues from a Pittsburgh point of view, offering common sense conversations, right-of-center perspectives, and a focus on the people, policies, and principles shaping Pittsburgh, Allegheny County, and Pennsylvania.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to The Right Side of the Rivers. This is the official podcast of the City of Pittsburgh Republican Committee, and my name is Todd McCollum. I am the chairman of the Pittsburgh Committee, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host and vice chair, Russell Dreyer. Russell, how are you today?
Tough day today, but great to be in studio with my favorite host, Todd McCollum. I am Russell Dreyer. I am the vice chairman for the City of Pittsburgh Republican Committee. It is the day after, folks, and we're not going to sugarcoat this. It was a tough evening for Republicans all across Allegheny County and the Commonwealth, but we are here. We recognize where we're strong. We recognize where we need to work on a few things. First and foremost, we want to extend appreciation and grace to all of our amazing candidates who had the courage to stand up and run this election cycle. I would personally also like to thank Todd McCollum. He's the chairman, obviously, as all of you know, and he was our District 13 county candidate. Very, very tough district for Republicans. I've never seen anybody work as hard as Todd. Doors, commercials. I mean, he laid it all on the line. I just want to tip my hat to my buddy here. And,
well, thank you, Russell. And since you gave me that pleasant introduction, I have not spoken and stayed off social media today. If you'll indulge me for 1 minute.
Absolutely.
I am humbled by the opportunity to have run this cycle. It was a special election. I had a short window. I am very happy. Well, I can't say very happy. I'm satisfied with the results that happened. There are some thank yous that need to go out. And again, if you'll indulge me. First and foremost, my wife was a saint. She had more patience than this effort deserved. And I can't thank her enough for her support and her patience in this endeavor. My small but committed team of five-star producer Missy, Barbie, Mike, Moneyman Bob, yourself, and Dave Gehring. I may have even left somebody out there, but that team propped me up when the roller coaster was in the dip, shall we say. And I cannot thank all of you enough for every person out there that voted for me, shared a Facebook post, or reacted to a Facebook post. I thank you. And also, very importantly, for every person that gave a financial contribution that literally went from $10 to $1,000. I can't thank you enough for your support in me. And again, like I said, it was a short window to run, but we ran a very diverse campaign and how we got our message out. It was not successful. Was tough. Today was tough, but I can't thank everybody enough. I'm probably not even saying enough about it, but thank you.
Yep.
Thank your wife for her patience and
Absolutely.
let me borrow you. And
do it again in a heartbeat with you.
We are going to move on and find the silver lining here.
Absolutely.
So we do have somebody that is capable of doing that with us.
Oh, for sure.
Our special guest today, very analytical man. Why don't you tell us about our guest today?
Sure. In studio with us is a man that's seen every side of many different campaigns. His name is Bob Howard. He's an Allegheny County committee person from Marshall Township. He's a political activist. He's a political analyst, And he was also president of the North Allegheny School Board in 1997 through 2001. And he's also run for a couple county-wide seats and is very familiar with running against Corey O'Connor. So without further ado, I would like to welcome in the studio our very special guest and our friend, someone that gives us a lot of data and behind-the-scenes information, Bob Howard. Welcome in, Bob.
Bob, welcome to the right side of the rivers, Bob.
Yep, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Glad to participate.
Well, Bob, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got involved?
Well, I've been involved most of my life. I think, I don't want to admit that I'm old enough to do this, but I think when I was a young teenager, I went door to door for Barry Goldwater.
Okay.
So I've been active most of my time. I actually worked for a global company, so I lived in France for 3 years. So it was a little difficult to participate in American politics when you're in France. But other than that, I try to stay engaged. I prefer to find candidates and support them, but if necessary, I run myself and participate in the process.
So, Bob, you're obviously a Republican, and how did you find yourself to be a Republican in your life?
I look at there's a piece of paper that says I'm a Republican because, and when I read that piece of paper, it identifies exactly who I am and why I'm a Republican. And I tell people it's because I'm a humanitarian, because the Republican Party addresses how we create wealth that then can be lifting everyone up. And that essentially is why I believe in having smaller government and a big citizen. If you have big government, you have a small citizen. And I want our citizens to be productive. I want them to have opportunity. And that's the reason I'm a Republican.
Take us on a little trip through your different roles in political campaigns and in some of the races that you yourself were involved in. Give us a little bit of history of your political bona fides and some of the campaigns and what you've run for.
Yeah, I've ran for office myself for a school board, and I was actually in a large district, and so you have to run. You just can't decide you want to be on the school board and get on the ballot, and that's always an interesting race because it's going to be very local. It's about issues that parents care about. It's about taxpayers, and of course, when I ran primarily on the tax issue because seniors did not want higher taxes. And that was a vibrant issue, and I won on that issue primarily. And then I've been involved with congressional races where I've helped candidates, helped them select consultants, helped them decide on messaging, reviewed their mailers, that type of thing. And I think it's very important for us with limited funds usually to get messages that speak to the voters.
And what about some of the campaigns that you yourself have run for?
The last time I ran for controller of Allegheny County, and that was a race that I did not run to win. I ran to help Joe Rockey. He was a candidate who had the experience, the expertise, and he would have made a great county executive. And that's the message I wanted to get out there. I was also qualified to be a controller if I happened to win, because in my professional experience, I was actually been a plant controller. I know a lot about managing people. And again, in Allegheny County, you have a lot of employees. So it's not only good to know the functional and technical part of the job, but it's to know how to manage people.
Correct. And maybe a lot of people don't remember this, but your opponent was Corey O'Connor.
Right. Yep.
And so on the heels of our municipal election here in Pittsburgh, we're very familiar with Corey and the campaign that he ran here, obviously for mayor.
Mm-hmm.
So, Bob, how do you see Allegheny County because you said you ran to help Joe Rockey and he wasn't successful. You came close but wasn't successful. How do you see the couple years under the current executive?
I see Allegheny County as having many challenges, and a lot of them relate to the fact that I think people want the government to do a lot of things, but they are electing people who don't have the adequate experience to carry those through. And I keep asking myself, if I want the government to do all these things, wouldn't I want to elect someone who has the background, the experience? They've ran major operations, they've hired people, they know how to make decisions, they know how to ask the right questions. Wouldn't we want to have that kind of person? And we're not electing those type of people. We're electing people who they're inexperienced, they've never done these things, and it doesn't make sense to me. If I really want the government to be effective, I want it to do all these various functions. Why wouldn't I be looking for someone who has a resume? You know, when I worked for a large company, I looked at the resumes, and most of the resumes I see that were electing people, I would have probably not even called those people up. And I think that's what the problem I see in Allegheny County is. We're electing people, good intentions, they say a lot of things, it's very emotional, but they don't have the background or the experience to carry it through. And that concerns me a lot.
If there are one or two things that you could get a message directly to Sarah Inalmorato and her team and say, listen, we may have philosophical differences, but we all want what is best for Allegheny County. What are a couple things that she could work on from your perspective to maybe move the county in a different direction?
I would suggest that she would look for people who have experience in the fields that we really are looking for growing Allegheny County. We need people who have had relationships with multiple companies, that know how to talk to executives, that know how to talk about why Allegheny County is the place you want to come and invest. And those kinds of people make a big difference, rather than forming a committee of economic development that has, say, union members. Nothing wrong with union members, but they are going to be limited in their perspective. You need someone who has a wide-ranging perspective. There could be companies that today are manufacturing in China that they need to move to America because of the tariff situation. They might want to come to Pittsburgh, but you need somebody who knows how to talk to them and explain to them, and first of all, find them.
Right.
And that's the kind of people that we need to bring into, and she needs to search for those kinds of people if we want to be effective.
And that was one of the promises that Joe Rocky had as part of his campaign, that he would be out actively searching these companies out. I'm not even sure that the executives left the county yet after 2 years. Did want to follow up with something that you said there, Bob, about we expect so much from our government. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that, or are we expecting too much from our governments at all levels?
Yeah, and I guess I feel that we do expect too much from the government, because the bigger we make government, the more government does for us, the smaller the citizen is. And I believe that citizens deserve dignity. A lot of our citizens are self-governing. They don't need all these barriers, regulations, etc. They are going to be responsible citizens. A lot of them know what to do, and therefore I think we have too much oversight, too many regulations, too much government. The types of things that government naturally should do is the infrastructure. Are they doing a good job? Are they taking care of it? And that's always something that you wonder about when you drive through some of the streets, when you see some of the conditions maybe of the water, etc. And in the county, the condition of some of the parks and the assets that the county has. You wonder about, are those tasks being focused on adequately?
I appreciate you wrapping that up in a bow very much. You have anything else about Bob's background? Bob, can you you're on social media here a little bit, not in great deals. Can they find you on social media? If you
I'm
choose.
on Facebook from time to time, and I also make comments to articles that are in the Post-Gazette, for example. But I usually comment on other people's work and don't do a lot of putting myself out there as the initiator.
Well, and just sort of as a a behind the scenes look into Bob, he spent 3 or 4 years in France, so he could probably recommend several very nice table wines, as well as several cheeses. I mean, maybe our 5-star producer Missy can put that in the comments. And
yeah, I still really like Port Salut. I usually have some at home. And some evenings after I have a large meal at lunch, I just have apples and Port Salut and a little bit of bread.
All right.
Yep, reminds me of France. Yep.
Is there a good French restaurant in the region?
I usually stay in the region where I am, and so I go to mostly restaurants that have fish, not necessarily French. I just got back from 11 days in Japan.
Okay.
So I had an opportunity to have a lot of good fish and rice dinners.
All right.
All right. Well,
you never know what's going to come up
You
on the
never
right
know.
side of the
That's
rivers. You're going to
right.
get a lot of information, a
we're-
lot of political, but also we need to
bringing all the information to the educated voters.
stick
for
with
sure.
these Republicans, and we'll talk to you about the good life a little bit sometimes too.
So, all right, Russell, we are less than 24 hours from Election Day and what happened yesterday. Bob, we know you're very analytical. That's why we wanted you here on the first show after the election. I know numbers are still raw. You probably haven't dived deep into them. Give us your overall thoughts of yesterday as just an overall opinion of yesterday.
Yeah, I think that it's safe to say that it's disappointing. Republicans did not win races that perhaps we thought we had a chance at. And that's beyond the city. That's the county. When I go down through races for county council, the whole way down through local municipalities, the Republicans and school board races, Republicans did not fare well. And people are going to ask the question, why is that? And we had a large turnout. Why did people turn out? I get back to my immediate answer is that the Democrats created a crisis related to the retention, and they informed voters that if you don't come out and vote yes to retain these people, you could lose your abortion rights. In fact, I heard some people even think they were going to lose their right to birth control. Those are extreme exaggerations, but that gets people's attention. It creates a crisis attitude, and therefore they come out to vote. And when they came out to vote on those 3 items, they went down the ballot and voted their party. Yeah. And I think it's pretty evident that that's what's happened when you compare the number of people who voted for the sheriff versus county council at large. The Labor Party candidate received about 100,000 less votes than did the Democrat sheriff. So these people who came out to vote, say for these 3, they were basically concerned. They come out to vote for those 3 yes votes. Apparently went down through the ballot, voted party, not candidate. So even though we had great candidates who worked hard, they voted party. And when they came to the county council at large race, they discovered there was no D. They skipped that. 100,000 votes, roughly, skipped that race.
Wow.
That tells me that people came out.
Yeah.
They were activated by that issue, perhaps, but they just voted party.
I think that's what the French would call entrenchement,
Something.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, basically, I know we talked about this a little bit last night, but there really is no news here. I'm not trying to downplay today's show, but there really is no news. We understand the voter demographics of Allegheny County, and basically, Democrats voted their party, and that was reflected in the results. You know, basically, countywide, you've got a 60 to 40. Democrats have a 60 to 40% advantage on Republicans, and those are basically the results you see all across the county. No surprise there. I just think that, like Bob said, this became an emotional kind of race. The Democrats cannot run on public safety. They cannot run on lowering your taxes. They cannot run on anything that they've done for you, especially our county council candidates. They were very fortunate that this judge retention scenario came up and became a flashpoint issue statewide, and they just literally rode the coattails of all the money that went into all the different groups to get the Democrat vote out to retain those judges.
So that leads to the question, Bob. Was too much made of this? And we understand that recalling a judge or not retaining a judge is a monumental task in and of itself. Was too much made of this?
I believe so. I think that it was, as you said, every judge has been retained except for one, and that was related to that midnight pay increase, which is a real easy thing to talk about. But this time, I was concerned from the very beginning that once you throw that, it wasn't clear in one concise, really bullet point why you should not retain them. And there's good reasons, and I could even describe it in terms of the way Democrats describe it. I could say I did not want to retain them because I want to save democracy. Why would I say that? It's because we, in our democratic republic, we voted for legislators and we sent them to Harrisburg. They made laws, and that's what democracy is all about. But these judges decided we're not going to respect democracy. We're not going to respect what these legislators did and what the people said. We're going to override it, and we're going to say, they may have said you have to have the ballot in by election day, but we're going to say, forget it. We don't really believe what the democratic process yielded. We're going to decide they have more days to get the votes in. That's the issue here. So there's reasons to have voted not to retain them for another 10 years. But it's not as easy as saying midnight tax increase. Right. And so I was concerned that it would not be communicated effectively. And then after the Dobbs case, abortion is a hot issue. And if you give the Democrats any lever, any way they can get that into the conversation, it'll be in there. You know, it's like it doesn't make any sense to us who know. It wasn't going to change the abortion situation in Pennsylvania.
Not at all.
Because we know there's a law, and we know it's 23 weeks, and et cetera, et cetera. But it scares people, and so they scared them. They got them out to vote, and I believe that's why the turnout was as high as it was.
My last question on the issue was it wrong to blanket go for the all or nothing situation? Should it have been more individualized? I know specifically about what was her name? Donahue was the one who cannot serve her full term, right? Not even half of the term that she would be that she's being retained for. Was it wrong to blanket and go for all or nothing? And we have friends, and this was brought up a lot by Scott Pressler. With all due respect to him, was it wrong to blanket and go all or nothing?
I think it makes it more difficult when you blanket it, because that makes it look like you are probably playing politics. It's easier to say that. It's much more convincing to say this person made a decision that was not in our best interest and pin it on that person. I think that's an easier play. It gets down to the messaging. What messaging resonates with the voter that the average voter can understand? Not a message that the three of us can understand, because we're insiders. We know a lot about how this works, what goes on, what these people did. But the average voter, first of all, doesn't even know we have retention. You can't believe the voters that got a civics lesson over this whole thing. They didn't understand what the judge retention was about. They didn't understand they get elected and 10 years later they have to serve as retention. I know yesterday at the polls, we had voters who were upset because the retention didn't tell them if it was a D or an R. They wanted to vote D or R, and they said, there's no D and R here. What's wrong with the ballot?
Interesting.
And you had to explain to them that in Pennsylvania, you're supposed to be nonpartisan, and when you come up for retention, it's a nonpartisan vote. So, and that's basic information for voters who come out to save whatever they were trying to save, and therefore you can see the level of ignorance about the system. It's very easy to do nothing more than to go, regardless of how good the candidates are, is to go down through there and vote party. There's one municipality, a great example, a person who's up for re-election. The person has a successful business. They're an engineer. They know a lot about water management. They know a lot about our road system, and they're capable of really helping the township. And they lost to a young person who their chief job is returning carts at a grocery store. They live in the basement of their parents' house. So here is the township, the voters made a decision to take someone who has all this experience in the types of things the township needs to worry about: water management, roads, infrastructure, etc. And he loses for someone who has that no experience or background. Now, how does that make our government better for the average person? I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Now, what about, I was just going to say, that sounds like a story from 2023. But anyway, I wanted to get into maybe a little bit about turnout. I think we could talk a little bit about turnout and talk a little bit about the mail-in ballots, the percentages, if they move for us one way or another. Didn't know what you were seeing out there, Bob, in terms of turnout.
Yeah, it's tough to get the turnout by party until the county updates the system and we know exactly who votes. So we can only surmise at this point that there has been a lot of Democrat turnout. Yeah. And when we look at the results, we have to assume that's the situation.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Off-year election.
Yep.
They had that emotional issue that they could run on, and I really do believe that the progressives turned out.
Yep.
I believe the progressives turned out, and on our side of things, I think the Republicans stayed home.
Yep. And fear is a powerful motivator. When you can convince someone who doesn't know politics, you can convince them on social media, TikTok, or whatever, that they're going to lose their rights to abortion or even birth control. That's a very emotional thing, and it results in action. And that action is voting as you're told, etc.
And
well, I did want just a brief story because I had that come up in a door knocking situation very late last week, where a woman came to the door, and that was part of her argument, that she didn't want to lose her abortion rights. And I said, look, I'm on the other side of this where, the Democrats are always, I'm sorry, our quote unquote, our side is always saying, oh, they're going to come take your guns.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to explain to the lady, your abortion rights are never going to go away, nor are they coming to take my guns. That is what I choose to believe. I believe that within my heart because I have to have faith. And I told the lady, I said, in my lifetime, in your lifetime, you will never see either one of those things happen because they do not have the stomach for that in Harrisburg. They do not have the stomach for that in Washington. So I don't want to blame the voter guy, but there does seem to be a disconnect somewhere along the line here. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and that makes
interaction.
sense because remember, each one of these special interest groups need to raise funds. And you raise funds by telling people be concerned enough to send me $100. And I get concerned whenever I think somebody's coming for my guns. I get concerned whenever I think somebody is going to eliminate my right to abortion in Pennsylvania because they don't know how divided the legislature is. The legislature can't even pass a budget. It's 30 days or 40 days late.
Yeah.
And yet these people are worried that somehow if I just vote the wrong way for a person who's capable, experienced, and can do a good job in government, that all of a sudden I'm going to lose these rights. It's not realistic. And they're being, to me, I tell them, my concern is they're being exploited. They're being exploited by opportunists who are either raising money or trying to win an election. And I think as Republicans, we don't want to be opportunists. We want to be telling the truth. What's really going to happen when these people are elected? What's going to happen in Harrisburg that makes a difference? And again, it gets back to my big concern is people are not electing competent people who can run the government. Yet our government's big. We pay a lot of money for it, and we need good, competent people to run that government.
You talked about special interests. If we'll just stay on this for a little bit. And things that we do very well. Definitely door knocking, tabling at different events across the county. But I will say maybe where we have to call balls and strikes here. Maybe where we came up short on election day, on game day, was the other side had folks at all the polls. I believe it's PA working families.
Yes.
We saw that in the city. I don't know up in your area if you saw that, but every precinct, every polling location that I visited in the city was staffed with the same special interest group, and they were giving out what they called a cheat sheet of the judges for retention, and as well as they had common pleas judges that they were promoting as well. So they were ready to go on game day. Those folks were staffed. People brought them lunch, and they had their literature, and every person that came to vote, they interacted with and told them to retain the judges and vote for all the Democrat candidates anywhere up and down their ballot. So I think that we have to keep learning here as we go along, and we're very good at knocking on doors. We're very good at being at big events and registering voters. But I certainly think that on game day, we need to have some kind of presence at the polling locations. That was just my observation about yesterday, Todd. I don't know what you. I know you were around.
At one polling location, the nice young girl, and she was pleasant, nice, and talked to me, and it was great. She referred to it as the progressive cheat sheet, and that was her term that she used to every voter that came up to her and talked to her. Bob, do want to keep us moving along here. Tell us about the what you saw from the statewide court races, please.
Again, I thought that Maria Batista had a opportunity. She's a great candidate, very well qualified,
Absolutely.
and she works hard. I saw her; she's all over the state working hard.
Works hard and
Multiple
is
times.
charismatic.
You're right. And her opponent didn't seem to exist, and yet she did not come close to winning. And again, I go back to on a statewide basis, it's the Democrats created a crisis over the retention. They were able to get more voters out, and when they got those voters out, they voted party instead of the best qualified judicial candidate. And I think on our statewide races, that's what happened to both her and Matt Wolford.
Do we know? I know Maria was very laser focused on independence.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen enough data yet? I mean, I know we're not even 24 hours out. Have you seen enough data yet on where the independent vote went? Any data out on that?
Not at this point
No.
that I see, because usually what happens is the 67 counties have to update the SURE system with their results, and that would be the voter history. And Allegheny County, for example, it'll take a couple weeks before they get that updated, and that's when you can tell who voted.
Right.
Was it Democrats? Was it independents? Was it Republicans? Or who voted? So that's something that at this point, I'm not aware we would have the ability to really answer that question at this point.
At the risk of being redundant here, 2 county-wide races, Brian Wisemantel for sheriff, and the much talked about Mike Ambrasia race.
Mm-hmm.
And so why don't you tell us briefly about Brian Wisemantel's race as you saw it, and then because it'll be the same, pretty similar story for Mike Ambrasia, but if you take a minute and talk about the repercussions of the Republicans losing that seat. Give us a couple minutes on your thoughts of that.
Yeah, I think that, and I think in that race, Kevin Krause won that very handily. And it doesn't surprise me because he has been a person who has protected his left flank to a certain degree, and he's also reached out to a number of gun owners, for example. He put in place a system where you could get your concealed carry permit. You didn't have to go downtown all the time. So there was a lot of things there that helped him retain votes. I think Brian was a very qualified person, and he would have also done a good job. The one thing that I don't think voters ever realized was the difference between the two might have been on the cooperation with ICE and with immigration officials, because Kevin Krause made it sort of aware that he wasn't going to get involved, but Brian said he would. And if you look at the surrounding counties, they've all interfaced with ICE. That doesn't mean they're going to go out and arrest immigrants, but they're going to be aware of what ICE is doing, and they're going to be informed and know what's going on, which I think is important for law enforcement to cooperate and work together. So that might have been, for the people who knew, that was probably a big concern between the two candidates. But again, I think it was a matter of DNR. Yeah. And then when you look at Mike Ambrasia's race, again, it's amazing that his opponent got almost 100,000 votes less than Kevin Krause did. And again, I think it's because when people came out to vote, they went down that ballot and they didn't know really a lot about anything other than the retention or maybe one or two other things. And when they hit that race, there was no D there. They skipped it. And I think that tells us, again, it was a very partisan race. Yeah. And that's why we had great candidates, very well qualified. They campaigned hard. It's like you said, they went to doors. They did all those things. But it was a partisan race, not about candidates or qualifications. And that's unfortunate, I think, for our county, for the voters in the long run.
breaking down the individual races in county council themselves, when I looked at it, it looked like Patrick Province had at least the best looking map.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding that there's a lot of deer, rabbit, and squirrel out where he's representing or would have represented. Any thoughts on the Mon Valley race itself in District 9?
No, I haven't had a chance really to look at so much the individual county council races. I thought we might have a possibility there, but and especially whenever voters, if you look at the last election, they tended to view favorably, or at least they would be somewhat receptive to the fact that a Republican might, voting for a Republican might be in their best interest.
Yeah.
But they didn't seem to follow through on that. But again, we don't know exactly who voted.
We don't know who voted,
Yeah.
and I think maybe we didn't mobilize our side enough. Is kind of where I'm at on it without getting all the definitive data.
Well, like I said, in Patrick's race, it had the most red in it.
Correct.
Again,
correct.
but in the red areas, those were locations where houses aren't on top of one another, where you need to really shout to say hello to your neighbor, shall we say.
Yeah.
There was a lot of hopefulness in District 1 in Mary Jo Wise's race. I know that sort of comes up to the area that you live. Any thoughts on that race there? It seemed like, did Jason say that was the R plus district, perhaps?
Yeah, and it was. I think I would have thought she would have had a possibility there. I mean, the big areas there's Moon and Ross Township, and she I believe is well known in Moon, would do well there. Ross maybe not as much, but again, once you get that Democrat person out who is coming out because they're fearful or afraid, they're focused on that one race, they don't know the candidates, and they are going to vote party instead of candidate. And, I was a little bit concerned also that they were not able to make enough noise about the 36% tax increase. And, I think it's good to have candidates that have a great resume, but you're going to have to give the voter a reason not to vote for the person that is of the same party they are, or independents who are sitting there trying to decide. You have to give them a reason not to vote.
Well, and I think
person.
too, exactly, there was so much airtime given to these retention races,
yeah.
That sort of the the kitchen table issues like property taxes, I think, were drowned out by sort of this top-down retention advertisements and messaging that we were seeing over and over and over again. So unfortunately, the issues that we can run on that really affect your day-to-day lives, like your property taxes and public safety, unfortunately, were drowned out because of this emotional issue of abortion, quite frankly, that these judges have no purview in.
Yeah.
And that's just, but again, that's, this is politics, and the other side plays to win, and they found an opportunity to drive a message that definitely resonated with a certain demographic of voters. So, it's just tough here, one day removed from all this, because our candidates were fantastic. We always put up the candidates that are qualified, have the bona fides, and to have to run, basically your local candidates had to run against the retention question, essentially.
Would seem to be that way, yes.
Yeah, I think it turned out that way. It was the retention brought out the voters that voted by party.
Bob, talking more about the same here, probably. We could probably wrap a lot of things up together here with all of the city candidates and the county District 12 race, which had a large chunk, a reasonable chunk of the city, and the District 13 race that had almost all city in one borough. Tell us how you see the city as a whole.
Yeah, I think it's a very difficult situation for Republicans. And I tend to say, we really have to help the voters understand what's at stake. And, I can run to win, but I think I also have to look at it. I run to plant seeds. I run as a mission to explain to voters the consequences of not having good people in governance, and look for examples to point out what happens when you don't have good people there planting those seeds. And you never know, those seeds may come to fruition and I might win. They might not come to fruition and somebody in the future might win. But it's very important, I think, for us as Republicans to plant those seeds. We believe in liberty. We believe in human dignity. We believe in providing opportunity for everyone, regardless of who they are. And I think we need to plant those seeds. That's our mission. And that's why we want to bring opportunity for jobs, for students who are trapped in schools that are failing, schools that are potentially unsafe. We want to enable parents. And we bring those messages out, and we do that time and again. Those are the seeds we need to continue to plant. And I think that will eventually bring forth the opportunities for us to win.
Well, I think it's unfortunate because it seemed like our message wrote itself this time, and I'm not sure we would ever, as a collective group, have a better message to bring out, whether it was, the tax increase that just happened, the housing assessments that are on the horizon, and within the city, the blight, the crime, the situation downtown. I've walked around downtown and seen the needles piled up, helped collect them. The situation outside of the county jail and 2nd Avenue Commons is a disgrace. And it just moves from one location to the other. If they would move it from in front of 2nd Avenue, it would just pop up somewhere else. Mm-hmm. I didn't see a better message for us, and very unfortunate that it didn't resonate with the voters.
Yeah.
I know that, just give my, I'm sorry, I'm taking
No,
another second.
no, yeah, hey, Todd, you could take 5 minutes ago.
Doing over 1,000 doors. I had 2 people who said that they weren't concerned about their taxes,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't show up in the polls, and it didn't translate to votes. And I don't understand it. Please, Bob, if you can make it make sense to me, please, I would love to know.
Yeah, and I'm surprised also that the tax issue wasn't bigger, that more people didn't talk about it. I'm familiar with the areas beyond the city. I don't know if it's because it's in people's mortgages and they don't see it really. They don't write that check. But it wasn't like people were excited about it.
Even renters understood that there would be implications to an assessment. I'm just left shaking my head.
And that extra tax is taking money away from them to buy. They're concerned about buying food. They're concerned about premiums going up. Yeah. Those taxes take money away from all of those items.
Well, I always like to sneak in a movie reference if I can. Now, this may not be a Pittsburgh movie reference, but for me, as I was thinking about this, it was kind of a long night last night and an early morning, let's say. This is definitely a case where it's the Empire Strikes Back. Mm-hmm. I mean, the other side came hard and came to win. And, everybody knows that there is a sequel to The Empire Strikes Back, and that is The Return of the Jedi. And we have a big opportunity in 2026. So we need to take all of the lessons learned here, maybe where things we did well, where we came up short, and we need to really get the city, which we know very well, and Allegheny County plugged in and ready to go for a very important gubernatorial race next year, as well as a very congressional races. That's my movie reference there, Todd. I like to sneak those in every once in a while.
You do. I would have made it a Endgame.
Try to lighten
an Endgame Avengers reference, but that's my wheelhouse there. Bob, we have you. We appreciate your insight onto things, and we do like to keep five-star producer Missy happy. But while we have you here, and I know we're kind of over time, but tell us about the government shutdown here, both the federal and the state. And did you see that having an effect on anything that happened yesterday?
I think the state shutdown or the lack of the budget, I'm surprised we haven't heard more about it, because that does affect a lot of the nonprofits in particular, not all of them.
Is that because of who the governor is right now and his aspirations?
I assume that that's a lot of it, because he has a lot of communications and PR people that are trying to keep the lid on it. So I'm a little bit surprised we haven't heard much about it. But I think the federal government shutdown probably did affect the race here in Pennsylvania, because you started seeing on TV people who were suffering, potentially going to run out of food banks, lines, and then so I think there was probably some voters who were concerned about that. It may have caused them to say, I'm going to go vote. It doesn't seem that I didn't see probably a lot of that, but I think it did have some impact upon what happened here in Pennsylvania.
Oh no, for sure. The messaging again, that kind of messaging. I think all the Democrat, the Democrat surrogates, Democrat party members, they were on socials talking about these issues and driving their voters to the polls on multiple fronts here. And again, in Allegheny County, we're running on taxes, potholes, and public safety, and you've got these massive headwinds of messaging coming your way in these county races. So it was very tough, very tough for us.
And I think as far as the government shutdown, I wish they would listen to Senator Fetterman. It's pretty straightforward. And I can't believe, I'm very disappointed in my congressman who keeps lying, telling us that Republicans have complete control. Anybody who knows anything about government knows the Republicans need 60 votes.
Right.
It's pretty simple. All they have to do, and the CR that was passed is a clean CR. It keeps spending at the level we have today.
And they voted,
And they voted down now, I think 14 times, I believe now is the number. And I wish some of them would pay attention to Senator Fetterman. I'm not always wanting people to pay attention to him.
Boy,
but in
Senator
this case,
Fetterman
he's saying exactly what should be said.
That can be a whole.
It's a Democrat
show,
shutdown, and I'm assuming it's because they're afraid of their left.
Well, I know Todd and I are big fans of the relationship that Senator McCormick has with Senator Fetterman, and those two are getting it done the way it should be done. Mm-hmm. It's a breath of fresh air. It shows real leadership, and I think we could probably have a whole show on Senator Fetterman.
And we could probably have a whole show on Bob holding his congressman's feet to the fire too.
We get Bob's communique.
We will have Bob on again. Bob, we hope that you join us again real soon and often. We appreciate you coming on for the post-game show, shall we say. And we thank you a million for coming on today.
Yep, you're welcome. It was a pleasure to participate.
All right.
Thank you, Bob.
Russell, why don't you tell everybody about our social media stuff?
If you want to follow us on socials, PGH GOP Committee. That's PGH GOP Committee on X, Facebook, and Instagram. And our 5-star producer, Missy, will have all those details in the show links.
Well, once again, we've gone overboard and still left a lot on the table. It's a great show. Not one that
Thank
we
you,
wanted
Todd.
to have today, but we had a great show. And thanks again, Bob. We are going to see you all again in 2 weeks with a very special guest once again. This is the official podcast of the City of Pittsburgh Republican Committee. My name is Todd McCollum, and we thank you for joining us today on the right side of the rivers. Be well, everybody.
Be good.
Thanks for tuning in to The Right Side of the Rivers. We appreciate you spending your time with us as we talk about the issues that matter to Pittsburgh, Allegheny County, and beyond. Be sure to visit us online at pittsburghrepublicans.com for more updates, events, and ways to get involved. And don't forget to follow us on social media. We're on X, Facebook, and Instagram at PGHGOP Committee. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay on the right side of the rivers.